I'm gonna wait till it live. Wait a minute. I'm gonna just wait till people jump in first.
I don't see nobody yet.
Oh, I just started this. I just popped something.
Yeah, okay. No problem.
Get the link. Yeah, I mean there comes. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go to my page real quick. But they're gonna show up. We live now. We live now. See, they jumping in there now. Hey, dude. Hey, Whisper TV. Hey, dude, did you post on the page?
Yeah, you did.
All right.
No problem, dude.
All right, I'm just letting a few people know, and then they'll come though. They get the link, cause mine will go straight to YouTube anyway. David got a lot of texts on here. David, post it again. Hey, Whispers. Yeah, I love the title. Yeah, Richard, I've been was trying to get you on here, but I know last time I talked to you, you said I know you had death in your family. So, you know, you gotta give a person time enough for that grieving process. Hey, Robin Moore. Hey, Eve. Arizona, what's up? Wait a minute. Hey, back. What's up, Robin?
What's up, man?
I'm gonna give him a couple more minutes, Robin, and then you can start. Cause I know some people are gonna get their links late.
Yeah, I figure with all this daggone bad weather coming around.
I know. I was just out of town, man. When they just hit what I think Louisiana.
You ain't kidding at 150 miles an hour. What you think? With the Mississippi River running backwards from all that damn wind.
That's crazy. It hit Alabama not too long ago too.
Yeah, it hit them about an hour ago. Mississippi coming up next. I can tell you that much. We don't even want to talk about Texas.
Right. It seemed like all them down south states get it real bad.
You ain't kidding. Over here in Kentucky gets it just as bad too with the doggone LBL. Follow them both them lakes and both them rivers.
Wow.
Especially where I lived at when I raised the Rascal, boy, some of these storms you didn't want to mess with.
Right. What area you think is the hot spot right now? Is it Kentucky?
It's in the LBL on the Kentucky and Tennessee side. Dog man, you won't get much of a thing from.
Mm-hmm.
You might see them, they'll turn and walk away. But I tell you this much: it's these damn hybrids, and these damn Bigfoot, especially the top 4 Bigfoot, you got to worry about.
Wow.
You don't want to mess with them damn things. Here it is. My family's homestead is still right next to the LBL, only separated by two damn big ass electric fences.
Wow. Hey, Voltron.
Because my family homestead was about 400 to 500 acres.
So, I mean, I'm gonna let you tell it though. But how old was Rascal when he passed or left?
About 15 years. Because I had him from March the 17th to November 2000, where he died in my arms.
Mm.
And it still hurts.
Oh, I know it do.
I mean, that was a part of the family there.
Right. Because you gotta think they got a way high intelligence.
They do.
So,
They're telepathic. And they can speak English too. Some words of English. That's how intelligent they were. You're not going to get that from any damn Bigfoot. I'm telling you right now. Unless that Bigfoot's a friggin' hybrid. That would be the only way.
hey, Maximilian. He gonna get into it. He can get into his account. We're gonna wait like 3 more minutes. He can ready to start. Just giving people time enough to get in the chat. Yeah, we need to pray for all of them down there, cause man, them floods ain't no.
It might be a 3 foot. It might be a 3 foot when it first there, but when that wind hit, it's gonna climb up there anywhere from a 10 to 30 foot. I used to work out there on a boat.
Hey, no 504 Blackwater Meter. How you doing?
I've been to New Orleans. I know how it is.
Right.
I've been on them damn barges when the friggin' water spout went by too. That shit felt like hitting a damn. It felt like hitting a damn sandpaper, sandblaster. That damn. I remember getting on that darn towboat. My uncle, who's a towboat captain on there, he says, "How'd it feel?" I said, "Look at my damn skin. I'm redder than that damn redder than that damn smokestack out there."
Yeah, I know that hurt.
When getting that shit hurt. When you're clean, bullshit.
One thing to ask you is these duckweeds different species in their own? Because I just threw it out there one day.
They are. They're part of the hybrid mix. They're part of the hybrid mix, and you have got to watch it. You have got to watch it. Those things are dangerous. Rascal killed 4 of the damn some bitches. They're anywhere from 4.5 to maybe 6 foot tall.
Wow.
And some of them will either have a wolf head with 4 ears, what my grandfather calls a fake dog man. And these others, 2 others, one will look like a regular Bigfoot, but the other one will have a deer's head with antlers.
Wow.
Or kind of like a boxer's head with antlers.
Wow.
And I see them way more dangerous than the Wendigo.
I know. I mean, I don't hear too many. Was there ever spotted down in Kentucky the Wendigos?
We don't have any Wendigos down here in Kentucky. They're more like up north.
Okay. Okay, that you talking about coming up to like Pennsylvania and all them states.
Yeah.
New York, okay.
We got them friggin' deer spirits too.
Oh yeah.
Real thin, tall looking things with deer heads. The back part of the daggum back feet look like a hoof with 2 toes extending out.
Wow.
They're real tall and skinny, anywhere from 6 to 7 foot.
Okay.
Oh, I'll run into one of them. Me and my best friend run into one of them, which I'm going to tell you when I get started here. It was at Hunter's Moon. During a Hunter's Moon festival. First day and night of deer season.
Wow. One more minute, y'all, then we're gonna start.
because it's like this. My family's homestead was in Livingston County, the largest island in the United States, because it's surrounded by two huge lakes, Tennessee River, Cumberland River, and the Ohio River.
All right, for the ones in the chat now, put up a 1 if y'all ready. And we'll just go ahead and start. Other people so they might be eating or anything. So put up a 1 if y'all ready. I might as well put up mine. Put up a 1, y'all, if y'all ready. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Chris. Hey, Scott. All right, hi, Robbie. You can introduce yourself. Get your a little introduction.
Hey, everybody. I'm Robert. I'm 58 years old. Work at a factory. And from 1985 to the year 2000 was the best years of my life. I raised a type 2 Dugman named Rascal. He was black, golden eyes, and he's 9 foot tall, over 9 foot tall, and 625 pounds. I got him in the middle of March, in the year 1985. My father and his best friend, my father was in Army Reserves. His best friend was his commanding officer. And at the time, I was in a real deep depression because all of my hunting dogs got killed by hybrid. And my dad and his best friend came to the house. They brought in this knapsack, big old green knapsack. And they said, Robert, we got a surprise for you. I said, okay. They brought out this very, very sick pup. I mean, that poor little guy was so sick. My girlfriend and my stepsister, Teresa, they worked at the veterinary clinic. And when I started examining this little pup, everything looked fine from his tail to his back legs. Then when I started looking up and I saw these real long, what I thought were feet, and I turned around and looked again, these were not feet. These were raccoon-like hands, very, very long arms. And the little guy, he couldn't see yet. And like I said, he was very, very sick. And what it was, my dad and his best friend didn't think this little guy would live very long. Well, my grandfather said, Robert, what are you going to do with him? Well, Dad's girlfriend, Rosie, who was Teresa's mom, and I consider Teresa my stepsister, and Rosie my stepmom. And I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. So I went down. I got some baby formula. And Teresa and Amanda, they got some, since they worked at veterinarians, they got some antibiotics and stuff. We started pumping them through, started giving him the formula, and we started giving him water first, see if he could drink that doggone water. And he started on that water. Then we started giving him the warm stuff for the babies and all that with real milk. He started taking to that. He started gaining a little bit of weight within a week. And we kept on until after the 6th week, he was doing real good, and he opened up his eyes. And what he did, he held his arm, he held his arms up out at me, and I picked him up, and I hugged him, and the whole family hugged him. My grandfather, my dad, Rosie, Teresa, Amanda. We started, giving him a little bit more solid food each day and all that. And I was noticing about his hands. I saw his knuckles were extraordinarily large. And when he flexed his fingers, I noticed his claws came out like a cat. They were retractable. I'm like, oh, cool. And then 2, 3, 4 months, he was walking on all fours. But with, but my grandfather said it takes a dog man 6 months, young dog man, 6 months to a year to start walking like us, bipedal. Well, with all the antibiotics we were giving him and the shots we gave him, he was walking bipedal in 4.5, 5 months. His mane, from the top of his head all the way down to his tail, was thick, and it went around him like a lion's mane. It was black, soft, and furry. His eyes were cat-like, and they could see perfect in the dark. His ears were long and tapered. If you ever seen Van Helsing, and you saw that werewolf there, that's the best description of Rascal right there. And one day, this is about his 6 months, because we had taught him how to eat food like us and all that. He took to that real well. And he was sitting there in the chair, listening to all of us talk, And he was looking and looking and looking. My grandfather's noticing him, watching his eyes. He says, you guys, you do know he can understand our speech. I kind of looked at my grandfather. I said, what? My dad kind of chuckled. He says, yeah, he can understand your speech. Ask him a question, where we are. I looked at my grandfather. I thought he was kind of nuts at first. And I said, okay. I said, Rascal, come here, boy. Where's Teresa and Rosie at? Since they were in the living room sitting on the couch, he walks up, he turns around, he points at them. I'm like, okay. I said, Rascal, where's Dad? Dad was sitting right across from me at the table, and he pointed at Dad. I said, okay, Rascal, where's Grandpa? He pointed at Grandpa, who was at the front of the table. I'm like, holy hell, you can't understand us. And when I found out he was telepathic, he always slept with me. When I found out he was telepathic, this is about a year. This is where he's about 8 foot at the time and 500 pounds. He was laying in bed. And I was dreaming and about him. And I said, Rascal? He said, yes. I said, oh, hell. He says, this is not a dream. I'm talking to you. I'm like, okay. So in my mind, holy crap, he's telepathic. He said, I can understand everything. I said, all right. Because one of his chores I had taught him to do before we went to sleep at night, he would go around he'd do his rounds all the way around the house, make sure all the windows are closed and locked, make sure the doors were locked. Because I taught him how to do the locks and everything, and he'd keep them locked. And the thing about it is, sometimes we'd have our beds up against the window. He didn't like that. And he would help us move the beds up against the wall away from the windows. One night I found out why, too. This is, and I don't know what this was. He was walking into the room, and I was fixing to go to sleep. This was on a weekend, because I had just gotten off work. And I was settling in for the night, and I thought I saw a huge shadow in the window. I didn't know what it was because I had curtains drawn or half drawn and half closed. Rascal come in there because I heard him come through the hallway. He walked down through there. When he poked his head in my bedroom, his mane went up, his tail went stiff, his eyes turned blood red, and he growled. Well, everybody come running in there, seeing what the devil, what he was growling at, and we didn't see anything. My grandfather drew back the drapes, and he had his 44 out. This is one of them long barrel 44 revolvers. He says, I don't see nothing, but I see footprints on the ground. And Dad says, oh, hell, them damn things are back. Because my family, all the way through to my grandfather when he was a small child, have always had problems with Bigfoot and these other cryptids because they come on our property, would destroy our livestock, destroy our crops. I mean, these damn things were something else. And but when Rascal came on the scene, that kind of slowed it. That kind of slowed it down a whole lot, which I'm glad for that. You know, I'm going to say my first encounter with Rascal. This happened in 1988. I was our AC unit went out. And we had the huge bay windows open, screen doors and screens we took the screens out so we can get the windows open so we can have some air and everything. Well, Teresa, Amanda, and Rosie were cooking dinner. Dad and Grandpa were were sitting at the kitchen table drinking coffee. I was sleeping on the daggum couch that was close to the doggone that was almost up against the window. And I was stretched out. And Rascal was laying down between Dad and Teresa where he could see me. Well, like I said, I was laying there on the dang couch. And I kind of rolled over and I looked up and I see this 3-4 fingered hand come down reaching for me. Well, I thought it was Rascal, so I rolled back over. I didn't think nothing of it until when I opened up my eyes, all of a sudden, here comes fangs, claws, and everything jumping over the couch. That was Rascal jumping over the couch. He had grabbed this thing, and then he took his back feet and kicked the couch, kicked it and banged it all the way up against the table. And he grabbed this baboon face looking Bigfoot into a headlock. And those two were fighting like hell because this thing had reached, when it reached for me, it was halfway in the damn window or halfway through it. Rascal grabbed it, locked it into a headlock, and bit it on top of the head and killed it because it yelped and went limp. When it did that, Rascal let go of it, turned around and looked at me and come running to me to check me out, started licking my face and all that. The girls came over. They were kind of propping me up from the car because I was stunned. Dad and Grandpa grabbed their guns, and when they did, whatever this thing was got pulled back through the window. Apparently, this thing had friends with it, and it pulled it back through the woods, away from our house. That scared the hell out of me. All through that night, I can tell you right now, nobody got no sleep. I finally got to my senses and I loaded my rifle. And no one went outside that night. Rascal stayed there right at the window. The next morning, We fixed the window as best we could. Then we went tracking these things. We walked all the way down to the first creek. When we walked through the first 4 cornfields, we walked down to a creek where there's 2 ponds, and that creek runs all the way down to the Cumberland River. We lost our trail there. So we went back home. Rascal even lost their trail. I'm like, wow. So we went back home and nothing really happened. That's when my grandfather got on this idea. What he did for Rascal, what he would do with Rascal, he would manicure his claws. Now his claws, when they're fully extended, are 4 inches. That's pretty daggone long. He measured his hand all the way to his very tip of his claws that were extended. He says, okay, I got an idea. He went down to the shop and he made some metal razors for Rascal. We're talking, these damn things were razor sharp, and they were at least 8 inches long. He fitted them like a glove over his claws. But when he made these things, he made them where they could retract and fold when he retracted his claws back into his hand. When he did that, these things wrap neatly around his knuckles like brass knuckles with blades on top. And what he would do, my grandfather would teach him how to slash with those claws, which he did. This was part of his strength training. Now I also did speed training with Rascal. What I would do, I'd race him with my truck to a stop sign. This road that goes through our property was 2 or 3 miles long. And I'd race him bipedal. Rascal bipedal would reach up to speeds up to 60 miles an hour. And when I get ahead of him a little bit, I would stop at the stop sign. I'd have my back window open. He would jump in the back of the truck, slide through the window, because I specially made the window where he could slide through and get into the cab with me. Then when we go back, we'd do this for several weeks. I wanted his speed built up. Then when he started going on all fours, I couldn't measure his speed. Is like he just left me in the dust. All I could see was a trail, but I couldn't see him. That's how fast he was. And after that, I knew his speed training was pretty well complete. His strength training, this was a little bit different. Since his lungs were exceptionally long and muscular, I had him climbing trees, lifting boulders at times, and swimming, especially swimming. He could also swim underwater. He was that good. And after that was completed, my grandfather would have him fitted out with these metal razors on both of his hands. My grandfather would get out these sheets of metal and aluminum. He would have him slice that aluminum really, really fine until it has gotten where we could no longer measure his strength. I mean, he was that strong. And as for a hunting companion and camping companion, he was the best thing ever. And it's like, I want people here to realize when you're hunting with a dog man, that is something special. You're going to get some game, and some of the best game you've ever seen. When Rascal hunted, we'd hunt together. He knew what a gun was for. And I would take my Mini 14 with the night scope. And this is a high-powered scope, too. and I'd fit Rascal out with his metal claws, which were perfect for hunting and defense. And we would go hunting. We'd get up in our favorite oak tree. We have 3 or 4 herds of deer on our property at all times. They're about 20, 30 head. Now, here's where Dugman is so much better hunters than your damn Bigfoot. Here's the thing. Your Bigfoot is an opportunist hunter. He's not going to be that thorough hunter like everyone says he is. No, he's not. He'll even go after dead carcasses. Dugman won't. Dugman is your ambush hunter. He picks and chooses his prey. You have to remember that. This is how intelligent dogmen are. Now, the next incident we had, this was in 1989 when I was chopping wood at the 2 big ponds in the creek. That's where our oak tree was. And I was cutting down smaller trees and stuff for we needed firewood for the winter and stuff because we knew it was going to be a big one. After I got all that firewood and stuff cut up, put in the back of the truck, in my base camp, I would have 3 campfires going on. 1 in front, 2 on either side, with my truck parked in the back. And what me and Rascal did, this was about Thanksgiving, and I said, okay, Rascal, buddy, let's go hunting. We got the first 4 deer, and we dressed them out. I put them in dry ice boxes, but I put 1 or 2 of the deer in the tent with just the coolers. I shouldn't have done that, but I wasn't thinking at the time. I said, okay, Rascal, it's in the afternoon. Let's go maybe for 1 more deer because we're going to have everybody there at Thanksgiving. We went there. So we went back into the real deep woods on our property. We got not just 1 deer, but 2. 6 spike buck and a 250-pound doe. That's a pretty good sized deer. I threw him back in the 3-wheeler, and here we go. I started, before I can go up over the hill, Rascal was already over the hill. All of a sudden, I saw his mane and everything bristle. I'm like, oh, hell. I unslung my Mini 14. I put in a fresh 20-round clip, and I went around the other side of the hill closest to our camp. I heard Rascal give 2 huge warning barks. If anyone's ever heard a warning bark from a dogman, I hightailed to our camp. When I found our camp was literally destroyed, but the truck wasn't touched. Those 2 deer that we killed were gone. I'm like, crap. Our tent was shredded. Our campfires, 2 of them were put out. The other one was just smoldering. I'm like, crap. And I got on my cell phone. I called my grandfather, told him what happened. We might need another tent. So him and Dad came up there in their truck, compare and see sort of what it was. And they said, okay, throw these 2 deer in the back of our truck. And I did. Rascal was doing a defensive circle all the way around the camp, make sure there's nothing else around. There wasn't. And my grandfather set up another tent for us. This time they stayed with us. We got 2 more deer, so we got a total of 6 deer. We dressed them out. This time we took the skins and We buried the skins and the guts in the ground. And then we headed back. And what it was, well, my grandfather saw on the footprints, he said, looks like it is about 2 maybe 3 type 4 Bigfoot. Smelt that meat in your tent, tore it up. So we all went home after that, and we had a real good Thanksgiving. My other incident, this is probably the most dangerous, horrible incident ever.
Take your time. Take your time.
This still gives me horrible nightmares, and I'm not kidding.
I know.
This happened in 1992. Around October, it's either September or October. I can't remember which one because it's real late in fall. But just before Halloween, we just come back, me and Rascal. Nothing happened when we were camping and cutting wood. Nothing. And we brought all the wood home because in front of our house, no, in back of our house, that's where we went. The kitchen window, the kitchen, and my bedroom was 16, 15 foot above ground because they both sit on the garage. Now, the garage, my dad and grandpa, they had thick graphite garage doors with gun slits. I didn't know why, but I found out at the end of that week. Anyhow, because along the wall where the kitchen, just below, a few inches below the kitchen window, I stacked up our wood and everything. Me and Rascal went in the house. As we went in the house, we heard a knock on the front door. Okay. I opened up the front door. Rascal was actually laying down right beside me. And Amanda came in, hugged me, and gave me a real deep kiss. And I can see there's tears in her eyes, and I didn't know what the hell. She looked scared. I said, "What's wrong, baby?" And she said, "Hon, little Sally, a little girl, it was her baby girl, saying she's seeing these monkey men in her bedroom window for the past 3 or 4 days." I'm like, okay. Because when little Sally burst into the kitchen, the first thing she did, this shocked me, she runs straight to Rascal, wrapped her little arms around his neck. She started crying about monkey men are coming to get me. I'm like, what the hell? Because she wrapped her arms so tight around Rascal's neck, he actually choked. And I started getting real worried then because Grandpa was looking at me, and we were both looking at Dad, and Dad looked back at Amanda, and Grandpa said, "Hon, why don't you and little Sally stay with us for a couple of days, for a week or two? Maybe these things will go away." She says, okay. She went back, got some clothes for her and little Sally. I said, go ahead and go to our wash and dryer in the back there. Go ahead and wash the clothes and everything. She did. And as she did, Rascal was laying on the couch with little Sally, and little Sally went asleep. Now, Teresa and Rosie came over there to little Sally to sit with her. And Rascal got up off the couch, and he saw me pick up my Mini 14. I put in a fresh 20 round clip. Me and Dad and Grandpa and Rascal, we walked out the door, and I said, you girls stay here. We walked our way to her house because Teresa's house was about a mile down from us. in the woods at the time. And we walked down through there because there's always a path we walked. When I started walking this path with Rascal up ahead, I felt like we were being watched. And Rascal noticed this too. And he didn't growl, but his eyes went from yellow to red. We got up to Amanda's house. Me and Rascal walked through the front yard. Dad and Grandpa went around back. Grandpa had his 44. Dad had his 9mm. And Rascal walked around the corner, I guess where Sally's bedroom window was. And his eyes were already red, but his mane went up. And he stopped abruptly, and I stopped. I looked over at Grandpa and Dad, and I told them, "Whoa, wait." And so I walked all the way around Rascal so I could see around the corner. We didn't see nothing. I looked towards the fence where our house and stuff were, where the woods, real deep woods were. And I didn't see anything. My grandpa come around the corner, so did Dad. There was at least 5 or 6 different damn sets of big footprints. Pair of these big footprints were 20 inches long, damn near 9 to 10 inches wide. This was a big son of a bitch. I mean, huge. It had to have been. So I popped open my scope, turned it on, and I started scanning the woods, and I saw eye shine, about 4 or 5 sets of eye shine. I touched Rascal on the shoulder, and he was on all fours this time, checking everything out. I said, "Buddy, let's go. Let's back up. Let's go." I said, "I think we're outnumbered." Rascal looked up. This time he did growl, real deep growl that kind of shook the ground and everything. And when he saw me back up, he started backing up. And my grandfather and my dad were already heading back. And I got behind him, and Rascal stayed behind us. But he kept turning around and did circles around us to make sure we weren't being followed. We finally got back to the house in 30 minutes. And my grandfather says, "Okay, we're all battening down the hatch." That was the first night. Second, third, and fourth nights, we heard nothing but screams, hoots, and hollers in the woods. And a lot of it was coming from our cornfields, and it kept inching forward to the back of our house. Fifth night, now nothing happened to them nights. We made sure the livestock and everything were put up and everything. Fifth night was the worst one ever. This was about 11 o'clock at night. And I was laying in my recliner. Rascal laying there right beside me. He was laying across the fireplace. We heard these screams directly in the back of the yard. Now, we've got 2 spotlights on either side of the kitchen window. My grandfather ran and grabbed these damn spotlights. Lo and behold, oh shit, there were 5 of these bastards. Type 4s. One was the alpha. He was down there below the window, staring up at the window, screaming. He was about anywhere from 8 to 10 foot tall. This sucker was huge. My grandfather already put Rascal's razors on his hands because he knew he was going to be a fight. We grabbed our guns. One of the Bigfoot was up in our maple tree, right across from our kitchen window where the driveway was. I couldn't get a shot off at it because these other 3 Bigfoot were back in the back where the other trees were, and directly in the back of our yard, poking around, screaming. I took the first shot. Instead of getting a headshot like I wanted, its knee and leg popped out. I hit that sucker through the knee, and he come tumbling down out of that maple tree, about 30 foot up. And all of a sudden, I couldn't find Rascals because we were starting shooting like because they were throwing rocks, doing damage to the back of the house. They were throwing tree limbs, everything. And Dad and Grandpa was shooting at the other two. Dad was using his automatic 16 gauge, and my grandfather was using a double barrel 12 gauge, shooting at them and stuff. And I knew where the girls were. They were under my bed with little Sally, and they were crying and screaming. I couldn't find Rascal in the house at all until I looked out through the kitchen window. Lo and behold, there he was. He was sneaking around the big alpha. He had his damn claws out, and the metal claws were already extended out.
Take your time, Rob.
He walked along the wall because he was following along the spotlights. We put both spotlights on that huge alpha male. Rascal jumped up over its head, and he was on top of its back, and he rammed his claws through the back of its neck, and he twisted his hands apart, and he decapitated that sumbitch. I mean, blood, gore went flying everywhere, and the thing hit and landed face first, dead in the middle of the driveway, where the one I shot screamed real loud and went charging at. I don't know how this damn thing was running with its kneecap blown off, but it was. And when it did, it got close enough to Rascal. Rascal jumped up 20 feet in the air. He backslashed, twisted around, backslashed. He cut that thing's head clean off, and it fell down a culvert in the middle of our driveway with the other one. Now, the other three that were younger, one of them popped its head up. My dad and grandfather shot it through the head. Now, the other two, they were still laying there on the ground where we couldn't get any shots at them. And Rascal started to go towards them, but they grabbed their other companion that was closest to him, and they dragged it back through the woods. This was like a war zone that lasted from 11 o'clock to about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Take your time.
I heard Rascal. He walked around the house. I heard Rascal trying to get through the front door. My grandfather opened up the front door. Him and Amanda grabbed him, ran him to the back bathroom because we had 3 bathrooms. They ran him to the back bathroom where the biggest tub was, and they washed him down. While they was washing him down, Amanda was pumping him through antibiotics and sewing up his wounds. And then we all got into the living room and tried to sleep. Me, I couldn't sleep at all. My shoulder was bruised up where I was using military rounds for my 223 Mini 14. It was automatic. I used at least, I'm thinking, 2 full clips. Later that morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, we dragged their bodies over to the burning pile. What we did, we piled up wood, old wood, brush, everything on top of these bodies. And my grandfather went and got a big old barrel of oil, old used up motor oil, and poured it over them. And we burned these damn things. And as we burned them, we burned the bones. We burned the bones too, because we didn't want any, let's say, government snooping around, if you can understand. And I wished I had pictures and videos of Rascal, but my grandfather and father, who were in the military, and my dad's best friend, who is his commanding officer, said it would not be a good idea for pictures, because they do not, if they were to find out that dad and his best friend brought Rascal home to me and they're still in service, they could be in serious trouble, court-martialed, or even worse. So later, after we burned him 2 Bigfoot, the girls made us something to eat. They made sure me and Rascal ate. Then we fell asleep again in front of the, because we were still scared. Later at night, Rascal got up before he was looking through the back. He's looking through the kitchen window, and his hackles went up, and his eyes went red again. But he didn't make any sound or any noise. My grandfather actually got up, and we turned on one of the smaller spotlights, and he shined it down there to the burning pile. There was these last 2 Bigfoot. Here's how I know Bigfoot's nothing but a cannibal. They were eating the ash, and what was left of bones that didn't get burned up. They ate everything. They cleaned up that ash till it was nothing but bare ground. That includes the bones. And then they took off back through the woods. Now, in back of our property, there's these caves. They're 10 or 12 miles away from our house. That's how big our doggone family homestead is. 400 to 500 acres. We're talking the country acres. So later that morning, we started tracking these things. We walked all the way back to almost the LBL. And these things were in the caves. These were ground caves, because you got to be careful, or you'll step in them and you'll fall straight through. They were like, some of these are kind of like big holes, but they're caves in the ground. We were finding horse bones, cow bones, sheep bones, dog bones, cat bones, every type of bones you can think of except for people. And this was getting scary. These things were hitting our next door neighbors, grab a hold in livestock. Here's what I mean by opportunist. If they see it, they're going to hunt and go for it. And so my grandfather says, okay, way Rascal's acting, they're here. Here's what we're going to do. He got his tractor in gear. He started pushing brush into these cave entrances of these caves, and he went and got another oil, huge oil cans. He got another whole thing of oil. We poured down in them caves, and then we set the caves on fire. And we didn't see those things again, because these caves went all the way under our property, all the way to the LBL. So there's another entrance to these caves somewhere in the LBL. And we didn't see those other 2 ever again. Why these things? We're going after little Sally. I don't know. I just know this. They're dangerous. That's all I can say. These things don't have pupils like me, you, or any other animal. Their eyes are just like black, or either red. That's it. Boy, that's just. Or other. There were a few good things, a few real funny things. This happened in 1993. We had this old boy break into our house. Oh, it was funny. Now, the sheriff's department, who was our sheriff at the time was our cousin. Him and the two deputies knew about Rascal. They always like coming over, roughhousing with him, and they just having fun. And anyhow, this old boy, skinny as a bed rail, broke into kicked open the front door. Of course, I was watching TV. Teresa and Rosie were sitting on the couch watching it with me, and the front door come flying open. Well, this old boy bumped nose to nose with Rascal. Always seen was that boy turn around, scream like a little girl, and started to take off running. Rascal grabs the hold of the seat of his pants and pulled his pants right off. It was funny, and ran him up a big old catalpa tree with his bare ass hanging out from the tree. I mean, it was where everybody could see it. Everybody was laughing. My grandfather says, "Hold on, I'm calling the sheriff." Rascal was sitting there at the base of that tree with his pants hanging out of his mouth. And here comes the sheriff. Turning pulls up, walks over, sees the guy up in the tree, his butt hanging out. Walks over to Rascal and grabs those pants. He says, "Give me those." He looks over and says, "Robert?" I said, "Yeah." "Please take Rascal into the house." I did. And the sheriff looks up there at the guy and says, "Okay, sunshine, it's all over. You can come down now." He lets the guy, puts his pants on, puts the handcuffs on the guy. And he put the guy in the back of the sheriff's car, and he turned and looks at him and said, "Son, you come to the wrong house to break into." He says, "I want you to know, you see, our guard dogs are special. They're huge. Every household has one of them. You just met up with one that would actually tolerate dumbasses." It was funny. We didn't see that guy ever again, but I heard, and he was so scared, I heard he became a preacher. I don't know if that's true or not, but I kind of laughed. And Rascal, we had a real good diet going on for him. He didn't eat very much raw meat at all. He got hooked on the cooked meat that I would cook for him. He loved that. Now, dog men are not just meat eaters. No, 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 no. They eat fruits and vegetables too. In fact, they love vegetables. Rascal's favorite was potatoes, carrots, onions, and broccoli. Now, Rascal, when he was younger, he had 2 rows of teeth on the top and the bottom. Now, when he got older, those 2 rows of double rows of teeth became 1. And my grandfather, what he would always do, he'd have Rascal open up his mouth after every meal, and he would brush his teeth with baking soda. And that was kind of like a thing with him and Grandpa. My dad, when he would always out there in the yard and stuff, a Rascal would connect up to him on that. He would help him drag tree limbs and all that to the burning pile and all, keep the yard and everything clean. when it came to Teresa, Amanda, and Rosie, he would always lay there in front of the couch in front of them. They would always brush his mane out, pet him and all that, play with his ears. Me, it was always everything else because me and Rascal were always together. Now, these Galway, these things are something else. When I found out he really hated Bigfoot, now this actually happened in 1987 or 88, somewhere along in there. This is during the summertime. My grandfather had this big ass corn bin type shit out there in back of the cornfields. But that's where he kept his whiskey still and all that, his moonshine still. Well, this thing had 3 doors. Well, I was going to go. He had me go. Wanted me to go out there and check it out. Well, Rascal was on top of the tractor with Grandpa because we were, checking out our corn and stuff because Rascal really loved corn and so did I. So here I go after that damn going down to the corn bed, and I start opening up that third door. That's where I've got this scar right here. You see that scar? That's where I got that door bashed into me. That door flew open, and with that tin door, it busted me upside the head, and this no head, what they call a no head Bigfoot, come flying out of there. And it was a juvenile, but it was still 67 foot tall, maybe 400 pounds. It ran my ass flat over, and it knocked me down. And that door hit my face. And I got up, my head was split wide open. Rascal saw that. Rascal went into a rage, and I heard a war whoop out of him that I've never heard from or seen since. He went tearing after this damn thing, and the damn thing run back towards towards the LBL. What it was is trying to beat a path to that LBL, trying to get away from Rascal. Rascal was down there on top of him, slapping it, hitting it, and everything else. And of course, my grandfather, now he had some friends that were in the Forest Service at the time. And one of his friends said he heard this commotion. He went to investigate because he was on the LBL side. He said he saw a Rascal catch his snowhead when it was trying to jump over the fence. Rascal had caught it, ripped its arm off, and he was ripping it to pieces in between those fence. He said parts of meat and everything else was flying through those both them fences. And then he came back, and then Rascal came back to me. Of course, Amanda got there, had me sit there in the back of the truck while she sewed me up. And when Rascal finally came back, he was not one bit happy. He run over to me and Amanda. He licked Amanda, and he was really checking me out, whining and doing these little whine barks and all that. And I said, "I'm all right, boy. I'm all right." And my grandfather and my dad went out there to pick up what was left of this snowhead, which wasn't much at all, and took it to the burn pile and burned it. I mean, Rascal just ripped this thing from limb to limb, literally. We finally got rid of that. Now the fun thing with Rascal that I really like, the dumb thing was my grandfather and my dad introduced him to a football. I'm like, oh no. Too late. They were in the backyard and it just got done raining, and it was still raining a little bit. Well, they turned that whole yard when they was playing with that football into the biggest mud hole I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Hell, it would have done a whole farm of pigs proud with envy. I'm like, good Lord. Rosie saw that, and she went out the back door downstairs and grabbed hold of the doggone water hose. She says, "Okay, everybody, front line." She hosed every one of them down. Man, And one day, when was this? Oh yeah, 1996. This was kind of scary too. Jack Day came over, and he looked kind of worried. And my grandfather said, "Jack, what's wrong?" He says, "I'm thinking some kids back up at Carsville, where the Ohio River is, said they seen this strange looking Bigfoot. It was covered in white hair. They said this thing was huge, anywhere from 14 to 15 foot tall. And they said what was strange about it, they said one of them said it looked like it had sheep horns on the other side. You know these bighorn sheep with the curve? Yeah." And this kind of scared Grandpa. He got, "What?" He says, "Do you know what you're describing? What no one has rarely seen, what they call sheep squatch?" He said, "Aren't them things supposed to be in eastern Kentucky and western Virginia?" And Sheriff says, "Yeah." He says, "The kids were in the back of the store, the general store there. They're drinking Cokes and RCs." He says, one of the little kids, the 5-year-old, he said, turned around, looked up, and saw this thing walking down the old gravel road in back of there and walked into the woods. And he said, not just the little kid, he says, there's two kids on the bicycles that rode by, and one of them saw it. And they started screaming, went all the way up to the general store, started screaming, and ran inside the general store when they got off their bicycles, screaming and crying. And uh-oh. And here's what my grandfather did. He made another pair of what these look like spike claws, and these didn't retract like the others. No. These are striked out, and these things were solid, and the points were razor sharp, were meant to punch. And he made them for Rascal. He says, "I don't know." He says, "But I hope we don't see anything." What he doing? He's getting Rascal prepared in case this damn thing, the sheep squash or whatever it was, were to get on our property. And I said, "Do you think?" I said, "The sheep squash, if it's 14 to 15 foot tall, you know it's got to be over 1,000 pounds. And Rascal is only 625 pounds. Rascal is I know Rascal is strong, but I don't think he could take on that sheep squatch. I really don't." And the dude for Texas, I said, no, he never showed any aggression. He never did. And I'm thinking of this, why he never showed any aggression is because when he first opened up his eyes, we raised him up from a pup, 3-day-old pup, sick as a dog. I mean, super sick. And the sheep squad, I guess it never came on our property because Rascal would go on patrols by himself. He patrolled a whole 400-acre lot and come home. Sometimes I go on patrol with him. And that's where we do some of our best hunting. But at night, even with a dog, man, I'm going to say this: do not go deer hunting at night. Because, number one, you're not the only predator out there. And with as many as cryptids as we had crossing through, yeah, anything can happen. Because when we was coming back through from one of our patrols, this is where we met up with one of them damn gogwai. Well, my grandfather would call it a fake dog, man, because it's got 4 ears, a pair inside of a pair. And yeah. Now, Rascal could speak because Amanda showed me, because she had Rascal open up his mouth and she shined down there a small light, and she said, "You see his voice box?" He's got two voice boxes, a voice box within the voice box, because he can break infrasound. That's another thing with Bigfoot. When they hunt, they use infrasound to freeze their prey. Because I was hit with infrasound after the two incidents with the Gogwai. My first incident with the Gogwai, when me and Rascal were coming back from patrol, and we decided to pick up some corn along the way. And what we were doing, I kept hearing something, heavy thuds. When me and Rascal stopped, that heavy walking would stop. I said, Rascal, I think Grandpa's trying to, make a joke on us. I said, come on, let's sneak around, go all the way around the cornfields and make a circle on the edge of the cornfields. And that's what we did. When we got halfway through the circle, here comes something charging through the damn cornfield. That's when I saw this baboon face with them 4 ears. It was about 6 foot tall. It would come straight at us, and Rascal charged at it. And what Rascal did, when they met, Rascal did an uppercut with his claws like that. And he hit it in the stomach. He had his metal claw, his regular metal razors out. He literally cut that thing in half. And Rascal was running full force at this thing, bipedal. And this creature was coming straight at me. By the time it saw Rascal had already made contact. That's how fast Rascal was. What we did with it, and I called up Grandpa and I told him what happened. He says, okay, I'll be up there with the truck. And him and Amanda threw the carcass in the burning pile. We burned that sucker in the pile. Second incident with the damn Gogwai. This was during the winter. This was in 1990. This is still in 1996 during the winter. We were up in our usual oak tree, and we were waiting for a couple of deer. And we got both of them. I got kind of tired, and I leaned up against him. We hung up the deer, let him bleed out. And I thought Rascal fell asleep, but he didn't. Now, I was hearing some crunch, 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 crunch. I'm like, what the hell's that? And I looked down. There was this flat-faced, black-faced, red-eyed Gogwai coming up at us. Rascal reached down because he had his claws retracted, and his middle claws were fitted around his knuckles like a brass knuckles. He face punched that thing about 8 or 9 times with those blades. That thing fell backwards, hit the ground dead. This time we left it because it was getting real dark real fast. We got our deer and we got the hell out of there. That was kind of scary. Then on Hunter's Moon, oh, that was even worse. That was my best friend Tony was with me. And my grandfather, a bunch of his friends and stuff, and a bunch of Dad's friends, they were at the hunting lodge. That was in Joy, Kentucky. So we were headed. That was right around where our northern part of our homestead was. And we got into the lodge, and everybody got to meet Rascal. And we headed out that night. Now, this night was so damn dark, you couldn't see anything in front of you. It was blacker than your hat. That's how dark it was. We headed out. Me and me and Tony stumbled up on I think it was a spike buck and a real good doe. I got the doe and he got the spike buck, but we wounded him. So we had to chase him down, and Rascal was with us on the three-wheeler. We got down to the bottom of the hill where this creek was. We held our lights on, and all of a sudden, something 10 foot in front of us dropped out of the damn trees. That's where we saw this fucking deer spirit. Real thin, about 6 foot tall. It had 3-fingered claw hands, 2 of them. Oh, yeah, these damn claws were at least a good 2 inches long. And me and Tony couldn't backpedal fast enough. Rascal jumped over us, hit this thing solid with a right cross. That thing screamed and tried to get away from Rascal. I think it found out it wasn't no match for Rascal in strength and everything else, and it would try to run. And we could hear that thing going over the hill, and Rascal followed it with it screaming. We knew every time it was screaming, Rascal was punching the hell out of it and clawing it. I said, Tony, let's get our deer, throw it back in three-wheeler, and get the hell out of here. We did. And 5 minutes later, Rascal was directly behind us. And what he did, he fought this thing all the way up into an open field. We got back. We told him, everybody at the lodge heard that fight going on between Rascal and it. Everybody got locked and loaded, including me and Tony again. What Grandpa did, he said, okay, guys, Rascal's back. We're going to let Rascal lead us to where this thing went. We got to get rid of this thing. We don't want to get anybody's deer or us. So Rascal took us out where he had fought the thing. We got to the open field where the Ohio River was. We followed his tracks all the way to the middle of this field, and then nothing. I'm going like, what the hell? My grandfather says, anybody feel that? Because all of our hair was standing up off our damn arms and stuff. Like it was, the air was even kind of heavy and strange. We're in the middle of this dang field where Rascals. We thought the thing backtracked. So we went down to the river. One group of us went back towards town. The other group of us went back up towards Joy and Cardsville. We were going along there. We didn't see hair or a hide of this damn thing. It was like friggin' gone. Well, so we went back up there, and I tell you what my grandfather, here's what my grandfather said. He said, I think this damn thing went through a dimensional doorway to get away from Rascal. And I'm like, how is this? He says, because these deer spirits are demons. And then when we got home and all that, I was laying down with Rascal. Rascal said Grandpa was right. That is a demon. He told me he got up to this, when he was fighting this thing, the thing jumped a final time, and then he wasn't there no more. That was pretty scary. Then this happened right around 1996 during the fall. I was sleeping in This is during the morning, sleeping in bed. Rascal was with me because he'd just come back from a 3-day patrol by himself. Come back. And I'm going on like, hey, buddy, how's it going? My grandfather walks into the bedroom, and I see this brown muzzle, short brown muzzle, with little black stripes and stuff across its muzzle and stuff. And my grandfather looks over, has a big grin on his face. He says, "Well, who is this little cutie?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm kind of looking over. I kind of look over at the window. There was this small, about 5 foot tall, I would say, light brown, type 3, normal type 3 hyena dog man, a female, because I could see her human-like breast. I'm like, I looked at her and she looked at me, and I turned, I whipped around about like Rascal. Rascal had a grin on his face and says, "You got a girlfriend." And we all kind of giggled about that. And my dad, what he did, my grandfather turned around and named her Lucy. Well, within, I would say, about 4 or 5 weeks, she hung around the house and got to know us. Now, I was kind of apprehensive because this is a kind of a, it was a wild dog man. But this is how I want people to know how very, very, very intelligent they are. Because they can tell, since they're telepathic, they can tell whether you're good or evil, and they can feel your feelings. They can feel your emotions. They really can. And the thing about Lucy was, on that final week, I was kind of sitting out in the backyard in a lawn chair and stuff, and she came up to me. I kind of held up my arms, and she came right up to me, and she let me pet her on the head, rub her ears and all that. Rascal was right beside me. I found out she was a alpha female, since Rascal was an alpha male. And only 2 alphas mate with each other. So, and the thing with this, Dogman family is a whole lot different from a Bigfoot family. I want everybody to know this. First of all, Bigfoot family, when their family pod and stuff, certain units, certain members of family pod get too old and cannot hunt, they're usually killed for food or driven off. And in Bigfoot, thing about Bigfoot, only the alpha males are allowed to mate. Now, Dogman family pod are way different, because the alpha female Dogman rules over the whole family pod. I want you to know this. Now, she chooses her alpha male. That's good. Here's the difference between Bigfoot and, see, Bigfoot, they're kind of like, their main problem is incest. Dogman is different, way different. Dogman, the female Dogman would choose mating pairs for life. That's the main thing. And that is what keeps Dogman from, incest or having these real vicious problems and stuff. And how these hybrids come up is this. there's usually when young female dogmen, don't matter if it's type 1, 2, 3, or 4, if they're out hunting alone and get captured by these young juvenile Bigfoot, they'll mate with her and drag her back to their family pod, which is basically rape, and they'll make her have their children. Now, I don't know. I think it's a Nephilim in them that allows them to mate with dog men. That's the only thing I can think of because that's what my grandfather said. So I take my grandfather's word for it. He says that's how you get these hybrids, like the one in the Beast of the LBL that killed that whole family. And I can tell you, Lucy was a lot of help with her because my grandfather made. We always had that. He had this small stable in the back of the house and stuff, small barn type stable. He'd fix it full of hay and everything for her. And she would lay in it until she got used to us, until she started coming into the house. And what she did, she formed a bond with my stepsister Teresa. Lucy did. Because those two started hanging out together, and everything else, just like me and Rascal would. And my grandfather says, this is pretty good. And this is something to have 2 dog men with you in our family. I thought it was pretty good too. And my friends, they weren't really scared of Rascal, no. But when they saw Lucy, his mate, in his last 4 years of his life, they were all thinking, they all came up to Grandpa, instead of especially the sheriff and 2 deputies, says, what would be the chance of Rascal and Lucy having pups and you guys raise those pups? Because a lot of my neighbors and friends, see, they were farmers and stuff. And because when Rascal came on the scene, even they didn't lose any livestock or anything. Because before Rascal, we were losing livestock. Our neighbors were losing livestock. One of our next door neighbors, my dad's best friend, Mr. Clinton, lost a 2,000-pound prize hog. I forgot what this type of boar was, but it was pretty good size. And Mr. Clinton came up there and said, Rascal didn't get our hog, did he? My grandfather says, no. He says, when did you lose it last? He said he lost it the other morning. I'm like, no, Rascal was sleeping with me the other morning. Sleeping with me because we just come back from camping and stuff. And what it was, but we went out there. I says, I can take Rascal out there and we can find out what happened to the pig. We did. We went out there to his farm and stuff. Rascal stepped out and we walked around his pen and stuff. And Rascal was right, and I looked down and there was a huge prints. And so we started following these prints, and Mr. Clinton went with us right along with Grandpa and led us right to the caves. We found what was left of the pig, which was only half of its head. We didn't find no bones or nothing. These things, there must have been 3 or 4 of them. We didn't find hide or hair. We checked out them caves. There was nothing in them. So this thing they must have drugged the pig, that hog, to those caves and ate it there then left. Went back to the LBL, to the Tennessee side, because we were on the Kentucky side. The next incident happened during the winter. This is right around Christmas time. This time we had Lucy, third year, 1999. This, if anyone remembers how hard that winter was, because we had an ice storm, then we had that big ass snow, especially in Western Kentucky. And me and Rascal back up in the oak tree. And Lucy, she could climb too, but she preferred to stay down there on the ground. And we actually got an elk, because the game warden said if any of the elk go on your property and stay there for 3 days, you can get the elk. Okay, so we got an elk and 2 deer. Threw them in the back of the truck when we got back up there in the tree, because I wanted to get another deer in case we have extra company and stuff, because we already had a couple of turkeys and all that. Because when we do Christmas, we do Christmas. We invite everybody over. And me and Rascal got back up in that tree about 40, 50 foot. But there are a huge deer stand that we built in there to keep the wind off of us. We were halfway. I think we dozed off. When we dozed off, it was 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh shit. And we heard Rascal got up immediately. When he got up immediately, I heard Lucy growl. I'm like, oh hell. Then I heard crunching. I said, is she fixing to charge something? No. This thing was coming straight at us. I couldn't see this thing. I don't know. My grandfather says some of these creatures can cloak themselves with infrasound. And I heard her give a warning bark. Then Rascal slid down out of that tree, but he made sure I stayed up in that tree, and he gave a warning bark. And I heard he jumped down, and whatever this was, when it saw both of them, turned around and took off for the deep woods and didn't come back. When I heard something climb up the tree, and I thought, well, that's Rascal coming up, and said, "Pop, here come Lucy." She got up against me. Boy, she was kind of wet from the snow and stuff. Rascal was still, what he did a defensive circle all the way around this thing came back. And he climbed back up the tree with us. I said, guys, let's go home. So we got out of the tree, got into the truck. Lucy got in the back seat. Rascal was in the front. And we took off with our 2 elk and, well, for 1 elk and 3 deer. Now, in 1998 was when I had my infrasound attack. When we were fishing, just me and Rascal was up along the Cumberland River. And we'd already got a tub of fish. Rascal loved catfish, and so did I. All of a sudden, I started feeling real bad dizzy because my ears are ringing really, really bad. What it was, when these type 2 Bigfoot had snuck up on us, Rascal was behind the truck. I was in front with my rod and reel and stuff. And I was starting feeling sick and real dizzy. I got up and I found out I couldn't hardly walk because my legs were like rubber. So I stumbled up to the truck and I started sliding down. All of a sudden, Rascal, he whips around from the back of the truck all the way to where I was, and he did this yip, which broke that infrasound because he used a yipping type noise or sound with his infrasound to break the Bigfoot's infrasound. And he almost killed that thing. It had two holes ripped in its rib cage, and its chest had huge claw marks crossed of it, and it staggered back into the woods. And I figured it wasn't going to live anyhow, being wounded that bad. Rascal took a nasty nick on the shoulder where he got bit, and he got had claw marks along his ribs. So I took him home. I was still sick as a dog, weak. I told my grandfather what had happened. He told me that the Bigfoot went around Rascal, singled you out to be his next meal. I'm like, oh, And of course, when we walked through the front door, Lucy was laying in front of the couch with Teresa and Amanda, and Rosie was in the kitchen with Dad. They were cooking dinner. I stumbled in there and stumbled in the house, and Rascal was helping me. And Teresa saw Rascal, how scratched up he was, and she took him and cleaned him up and fixed his wounds. Me, on the other hand, I was so sick I couldn't even hardly stand. I was sick for at least 3 full days. That's how bad it was. I was throwing up, and when I throw up, I get so damn dizzy. I would lay there. You know how the house would, how you feel everything spinning? Oh, everything was spinning. Then finally, Amanda came in there and gave me a shot of antibiotics. I said, "Why'd you do that for?" She says, "You're sick you're sick from an infrasound attack. So I'm bumping up your immune system." And she did. Then everything was just fine. Then come today, believe it or not, Lucy was pregnant with her first litter of pups, but they didn't survive. My grandfather says that's a trait with all alpha male and females when they mate. They usually lose their first litter on the first try. Now, a few weeks before Rascal died, him and Lucy had a second group of pups. There were only 2 of them, but they survived. That was when she was pregnant with her second litter. Is when me and Rascal met up with these damn rakes. A rake, to me, is like an upright walking salamander with like a dorsal fish fin going all the way down its back to its rear end. It has pale skin and either 2 or 3 fingered claw hands. Now, we've got some old beaver dams where Big Huge Creek is. And if any of these And I want everybody to know right now, if you see a beaver dam that's abandoned, but you smell something like rotted meat or rotted fish, I'm telling you right now, don't go near that abandoned beaver dam because you could have a rake in there, and 9 times out of 10 you will have a rake in there because this rake, it had huge oval black eyes, and we were fishing and camping in the LBL on the other side of Hermitage Lake. This damn thing come charging at us, especially me. It not only charged, it stopped about 40 feet from me and hissed with his arms let out. A rascal came out from behind the truck, and what he did, he grabbed this thing by the throat, and it was trying to get away from him. He slammed it down on the ground and pulled it in half and threw it back into the lake. And it was raining at the time that he did this. We went home for fish. I told my grandfather that, and he says, "Oh, geez, not them things." And the second time we got into the rakes, but this time it was on our property instead of the LBL. It was at the Cumberland River. And I was fishing again. No, we weren't fishing, we were camping. And my grandpa was sitting in the lawn chair, sitting into the lawn. We were both sitting in lawn chairs. When this damn thing hopped out of the daggone bush, came charging. Well, Rascal immediately, he charged right at this thing. And it swung at him. And when Rascal backhanded it, it grabbed his arm and bit him. Rascal went into a rage, grabbed it from the neck, and then grabbed it from the waist, and he pulled it apart. Just, ooh, it's sickening. And the thing stunk when he pulled it apart. And he threw it into the river. Oh, it was horrible. Then we got up, broke camp, and we left because we didn't want any more of these things coming around. Oh. And around Halloween time, just before Rascal died, has anyone ever heard about these orbs and lights that look like a bouncing eyeball? When me and Rascal, we were hunting, it was dusk. We're hunting along Highway 70. Now, if anyone has ever heard of the Bigfoot Outlaws, they'll talk about this road called Purgatory Road, how scary it was. Well, let me tell you something. Highway 70 will make the Bigfoot Outlaws Purgatory Road look like Romper Room. Because me and Rascal was way up there in the birch tree. He was right beside me. He was on one limb and I was on the other. We was right up against each other. I saw these lights coming around, what I thought was lights coming around the curve. Because we were at a real sharp turn on Highway 70, way back there in the woods. And when we were sitting up there in the woods, I saw this light get closer and closer and closer. Then the light went up this tree, and I said, "Whoa, that's not a, what is this thing?" When I looked at it, it was right across from me and Rascal, about 50 foot. This thing was white, but it had an orange dot in the middle. And the orange dot, I swear to God, looked like an eyeball. And it blinked like an eyeball. Rascal saw this thing. He was watching just like I was. He made a warning bark. That thing turned around, went back down the tree, and went back the way it came. And we didn't see it anymore. And while we were going home and back of the field to where the truck was, my truck was, we saw another of these things. Apparently, they had followed us or something because it was going around the edge of the cornfield. Rascal gave a growl, and another warning bark, and the thing took off, shot off back towards the woods, and we didn't see it again. I went and told my grandfather and dad what we had seen, and my grandfather said, "Oh hell!" Grabbed the salt. When he had dad grabbed a bag of salt, Epsom salt, my grandfather grabbed some holy water. And what they did that early that morning was put Epsom salt all the way around that field and holy water, splashed holy water where I told them where it was at. And I also told them that around Highway 70 where the other edge of our property line was along the fence. They went along that fence with the salt and put holy water on that fence. And we didn't see those things anymore. My grandfather said what those things are demons looking for a body to inhabit. Yeah. Then came the week that Rascal wasn't feeling well. We were getting him water and everything. He couldn't drink water. And at the time, he was 625 pounds. By the end of the week, he was down to a thin 243 pounds. He couldn't hold water. He couldn't hold anything in. Amanda told me a powerful top virus was trying to save him. And I was going like, buddy, please don't die. Please don't die. He lifted up his head. He looks me inside the face. He says, I love you. And he passed away in my lap. And the next morning we took him out. We buried him and we planted an oak tree over his graveside and stuff so people would not touch him. And Lucy was there and everything. She stayed with us for another week with her two pups. Then she licked me on the side of the face when I was crying at Rascal's grave. And she says, I've got to go. I got to go. And when she left, she headed back towards the LBL with the two pups. And that was the last I saw her.
Do a lot with that. Robin, you got some questions?
And when I buried Rascal, I buried him with his two sets of razor claws. Deflated a basketball that's with him, and I deflated football in its collar, spike collar.
Wow.
And it's like if you could take a metal detector, you could pick up his metal claws.
Wow.
Now he's buried on family property.
So you just can't come on there?
No, we won't let no one come over there.
I don't blame you. But that's amazing. So I got some questions. When that first creature came through the window, do you think they picked up on a rascal smell, or do you think they already knew he was around?
Well, I don't think they could pick up when he was around because Rascal would use his own infrasound as a cloak. Now, I need some evidence of this. When the first encounter, when that, uh, what everyone calls it a Type 3 Bigfoot, baboon type, when it was reached through the arm, reached through the window at me. It didn't realize Rascal was there because it was concentrating on me until Rascal leaped from the kitchen all the way into the living room right on top of me. And when he kicked that dog on a couch all the way up against the wall,
Right.
the fight was on. Because from what I saw, that creature had a shocked look on its face.
Wow, that's great. How tall did Rascal get?
9.5 foot tall. Now he had a soft V-line top collar.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a regular dog collar. This V-line kind of fitted around his neck and his mane real good, and it had aluminum 2-inch spikes around to protect him from the other cryptids trying to go at his neck.
Wow. Okay. Another question. It's coming from out the chat. Nigga wanted to know, did Rascal ever get a winter coat?
Like a winter coat?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he never did because they're kind of like up north. That's what we thought this one Gogway was when it had a deer's head on it when he killed it. We thought that was a Wendigo. And my grandfather says, no, that's not a Wendigo. Because my grandfather said a Wendigo can have deer-like antlers on its head, but it's usually got a human-like face. This thing did not have a human-like face. It had a deer-like face, but its face, when I looked down at its mouth, it had some sharp teeth, like sharks, real thin shark's teeth, because its teeth, when I got a good look at it, it was dead. Those teeth were meant for ripping, these were like needlepoint teeth, real small, about like this. If anyone can see my hand.
I said it.
I mean,
This question come out the chat too. You know how some animals shed in the wintertime and get a winter coat. He wanted to know, did
yeah,
Rascal get a
Rascal
coat?
got a winter coat.
Okay. And how big was Lucy?
Lucy was only 5 foot and maybe 345 pounds. Her coat was a very light tan. She had the most beautiful green eyes.
Wow.
And she was quick.
She was a short thing. This come out the chat too, and B would like to know, and you can explain why. Do you have any pics of Rascal?
No, I don't, and I wished I did. But the thing with it is, my father, my grandfather, and my dad's best friend, who would see my grandfather served in the Navy in World War II as an air ops officer aboard a USS Coral Sea, a small jeep carrier, and he got hit in the Battle of Okinawa, and he got wounded. Got the Navy Cross or the Medal of Honor for that. Now, my father, he served 2 terms in Nam. That's where he met his best friend, and he got the Silver Star and 2 Bronze Stars. Now, his best friend was my dad's commanding officer when they brought Rascal home to me. And here's what my dad's best friend would come over quite a few times, and he'd tell me, and he says, do not take any pictures of Rascal or any videos at all, because number one, you don't want the government coming down, and they didn't want the government coming after them because Dad was still in the Army Reserves, and so was his best friend. And that would get them in trouble and probably get the whole family in trouble.
they would. So I understand that part. Let's come out of chat too. Johnny Cage wanted to know. We wanted to know, can rakes stand up upright? Because a lot of times we sit on.
Some of them can't. Some of them can't because they got this two-toed web feet thing going on. And some of these rakes, the last one he killed had a damn foot almost like a chicken. I'm like, that's what I said. What? And I told my grandfather this. He said that must be a different type of rake. I said he says it's a rake, but it's a different type of rake. So I didn't know that there was different types of rakes. And how Rascal communicated, he communicated telepathically almost 90% of the time. Now he did have few body motions and all that, body language and all that. But what he loved the telepathic thing because he's telepathic with all of us. Because when he connected up to us, when you connect up to him telepathically, Marvin, I can only say they telepath. That's a complete connection.
Wow, I definitely could believe it. This question come out the chat too. Things are true. Want to know, have you ever seen a Wendigo?
Have I ever seen a Wendigo? No,
Yes.
but I've heard about them. Now I've heard some really weird screeches. And my grandfather was with me. He said, now my grandfather was up in Maine during the World War II during his training, and he heard two of them. He said that sounded similar to those things, but we found out they were gogwai, which I consider gogwai 10 times more dangerous than Wendigo. Because
Wow.
Wendigo, I'm gonna tell you something. Gogwai and Dogman, they don't like each other. They'll charge at each other in a headlong fight to the death.
Okay.
And yes, Rascal had a tail. It was a wolf-like tail,
Okay.
long and bushy. Because I tell you this much right now, because my grandfather be playing around with Rascal. When I'm trying to sleep in the morning, I'd have that tail smack me in the face 30 or 40 times.
Oh wow. This question come out the chat too. Nugi would like to know, did you keep anything of Rascal, such as toys and things like that? And what kind of dog?
Yeah, here's the thing. What I did keep, he always loved my insulated hunting jacket. Hunting shirt jacket is red and plaid. I've got that in storage somewhere in my storage unit.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. The next question is saying,
And when it comes from Dogman, I can tell you this much right now, types 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. I'm going to say the most intelligent are the type 2, like Rascal.
now this comes from next question is what kind of dog collar was that he had?
The what?
Dog collar. A
Dog
dog.
collar? It was a V line. It come around here and went all the way down to right there. It was like a V line. It wasn't like a regular collar.
Okay. Scott Baker wanted to know, can Dugman speak other languages?
Yes, they can. That's why they have a double voice box. They can speak simple words like dad, mom, brother, sister, things like that. Evil, evil monster, evil spirit. It's like when they speak, I want everybody to know when they speak simple words like that, they have intelligence just like us. When I say these are a super intelligent, upright canine, That's exactly what they are. I don't think they're a part of the Nephilim because of their intelligence and how they are so close to human beings. And they keep the Bigfoot away. That's what I think God created them for. Because I think they were during Adam and Eve. That's what my grandfather, that's what my whole family believed, that they came from God and he created them in the Adam during in the Garden of Eden, where all the animals could speak to Adam and Eve.
Right.
And you got to look at it like this. But when they ate from the tree of knowledge, God cut them off.
Okay. The next question. This comes from Steve Riley. He wanted to know how big, if you could measure, how big was Rascal hands?
Rascal's hands, my hand is like this. His hand was 8 times bigger than mine. Now the palm of his hands, were clean. They didn't have no fur. But on top, you had fur. His knuckles were huge and long. That's where since his claws were retractable like a cat, they retract up in there. And when my grandfather made those razors, they would fold up into brass knuckles for Rascal. That really gave. I'm gonna say this: Rascal with the middle razors gave him an above advantage in a fight. He had the ultimate advantage. Another reason why he had the ultimate advantage, he had us. So if he got hurt or anything, we could take care of him. We got medicines, antibiotics for him. So it's not like all these other cryptids. Once they get wounded or something, it's like this. Even you know this, Marvin. It's all up. You get an infection, you go bye bye. You're just another meal from the other predators. And another thing about dogmen, they'll scout out territory and they'll choose certain spots, but they look for water, fruits and vegetables, and yes, even meat. They're different from Bigfoot when they're going out, when they're choosing their territory. They choose their territory as deep as the woods as they can, as far away as from people as they can. So there's plenty of game and plenty of water, and they don't bother anybody. Bigfoot is so damn different. They'll go when they start going into a territory. I'm going to tell you right now. Here's what they do. They'll take out all of the predators. Bigfoot will. Then after they get through killing all the predators and everything in the area that they're wanting to take, they use the main Bigfoot, the alpha male, will use the younger ones to wipe out coyotes, wolves, bears, anything that's a predator, dogs, cats. So they're the only apex predator there. Then they go after livestock in 411, sometimes children. So when they go after meat, they're going to go after everything, including people. These things are cannibals, and these things are dangerous.
Wow. Okay. This next question comes from James. He would like to know, other than talking, did he ever do anything supernatural, like cloak himself or have
when he uses infrasound when we were hunting, he showed me how he did it. Because he was right in front of me, and it's like he kind of phased out. And I'm like, okay, that's how you can do that. But when he phased out, he blended in
with the environment
around him.
Okay, I got you on that. Johnny Cage want to know: was you worried about getting caught with the Dugman in the car or with him out camping? If anybody was to ever walk up on you, was you worried about getting caught with the Dugman?
No,
You was in the
no,
car out camping.
no.
Okay. B Moss would like to know why do you think Rascal needed razor blade gloves?
Well, when my uh, see, his claws were never really trimmed; they were manicured. And when my grandfather fitted him with the gloves, he fitted him with the gloves first without the razors. Rascal like he says, "Now, buddy, I got something for you." He took the gloves off of him. My grandfather showed him the razors and everything. And he slid the razors in each of the things. He says, "Okay, buddy, let me put these on you and see how they feel." Well, Rascal didn't have any problems with it. And my grandfather kept working with him. And Rascal took to those metal razors pretty good, pretty well.
Okay, this comes from her too. She wanted to know, B Moss wanted to know, how did Rascal die? How did he got sick?
Rascal died from a parvo type virus. We tried to keep him alive all week. He was losing weight. It was like his body was drying up. We don't know what was going on. He couldn't eat. He couldn't drink. I mean, it was horrible. We knew he was in pain. We were getting him shots for the pain. We were trying to keep him alive.
Okay, Johnny want to know, why do you think Bigfoot is a monster but not Dogman?
Number one, because of the intelligence level. And I can tell you another reason why Bigfoot is a monster. Because these things, I don't know what it is. Some of them, I'm thinking some of their blood is mixed bad. They got mixed bad blood. That's what my grandfather describes it. He says it makes them go mad like a raging animal with rabies almost. And they just, ugh.
Wow. Dude from Texas wanted to know, how do you think they avoid trail cams?
Dogmen will avoid trail cams by using infrasound. That's how they can. That's why all your trail cams and stuff are kind of real fuzzy, real bad and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because they try to cloak themselves because they know what it is.
Right. Yeah, they definitely know what they definitely know what trail cam is.
Yeah.
And they can avoid
And when Rascal walked on all fours, he was like 5 foot tall, up to my shoulder, just about it.
it.
I mean, a lot of the people, when people see Rascal with me, most of the time he would be on all fours because I didn't want him to scare a lot of people off, and they were just kind of like, "That's a big dog," you know. And
That's why when they say they just think it's a big dog.
yeah, but
Um,
the ones that really really know me, they knew what Rascal was. Now, here's the thing about Dogman. When people see them and hear them when they stand up and they hear that popping noise, that is not their hips. That is not their hips because their hips are double jointed. That's their feet setting. That's the popping they hear. That's their feet setting.
Wow.
And to answer Steve Riley's answer
Fast.
on Rascal's Kids, I
Or
was
do you
back
game
about
away?
a couple of weeks ago. I was went up to my hometown to no drove through my homestead, and I thought I saw a dog man. This one was light brown, looked exactly like Rascal, and I thought I saw Lucy too. She was much, way older. So, of course, I was paying the insurance on my van and stuff. I drove through. They turned around and looked, and I stopped. This was on my family's homestead. They took off for the deep woods. There was only a glance. So I'm only hoping that they're living still on on my family's homestead. Because my cousin, who now owns mom and dad's house, he's got a 60-foot fence all the way around the backyard, side yard, and front yard. I said, "Hey man, what's this?" He says, "Robert, since Rascal died and since you moved to Paducah, they're back, and they're back with friends." I said, "What do you mean they're back with friends?" He says, "That's the only way I can describe." Because when he built this fence, he also built it all the way around Rascal's grave, so they wouldn't be able to, you know, dig up his grave.
Right. And I mean that was a good place to bury him since y'all owned the property. What other place what good place to bury him is on your property, and then put a big oak tree over top of it, so can't nobody go, can't get no DNA, you can't
Yeah,
get none of it. So, I mean that's a good thing, and I mean I realize as far as the picture thing is concerned because once you start doing that, put out there, that's when the government start coming, and
yeah,
that could just mess your whole career up, you know.
yeah,
They know people know they out here. They just don't want it to get out there with pictures
yeah,
and video and all that. So
yeah.
I can understand that part. Another question. This comes from Sir Money. He said, do you feel Rascal had the mental capability or physical, like weird hands to operate a gun if taught? They could talk. That's what we wanted to know.
I do this much. I've been giving thought of that, and I even asked my grandfather that. And he said he thinks Rascal does have the mental capability because when we go hunting, I would take two rifles. One was my AK-47 that I put into a pouch. Now that's another thing we got. I got buried with Rascal. He had a huge pouch, like a vest pouch. I would put extra ammo, food and water for me and him when we was gone about 2 3 days of hunting. Extra ammo for my AK-47 and extra ammo for my Mini 14. Because I was like this, we're not going to get caught unawares. Me and Rascal were not going to get caught unawares
Right.
from anything. And yes, Rascal could and did warn me about evil people and evil creatures because he could feel them. They can.
Wow.
It's like this. It's not only that. See, Rascals like all dog men. No matter what type they are, they could feel good and evil and everything. And like yes, like Bigfoot and Dogman both. It don't matter what. See, each group of Dogman and each group of Bigfoot, there's good and evil and everything. And that's also including in their environments. Like, okay, up north, Bigfoot might be seen as a good guy and Dogman as a bad guy. Down here in the south, like Rascal, Dogmen are the good guys, Bigfoot are the bad guys. It's to whatever environment or area you're in. Each area, each fire, each environment, each thing is going to be different no matter what. And I also learned, and when it comes to hunting, Rascal showed me how to move very, very silent in the woods. And this is where me and Rascal got good at it. Got really, really good at hunting because when we moved silent in the woods, you couldn't see us or hardly ever hear us. We had gotten that good. And now that since Rascal's gone, sometimes I'd have nightmares, and all I'd have to do is think or call Rascal's name. It's like it feels to me. It feels like Rascal's right there with me.
Steve want to know, was Rascal protective of the children?
Yes, very protective of children. It's like this. We'd have neighbor kids, late at night during the summertime, we could see eyes shine across them. It was cornfields. We knew it was damn tight for a Bigfoot, but they wouldn't go near them children that was playing in our backyard. Not when Rascal laying there watching them.
Wow.
Now, some form of dogman, just like some form of Bigfoot, are nomadic.
Okay. So they are nomadic. Okay. If you had the chance again, would you raise another one, and what would you do different?
I would do the same. I would do the exact same. If I got the chance to raise another dog, man, you better believe I'd do the same thing. Wouldn't change a bit.
Okay. Any more questions, y'all? Around the house, did he walk on all fours, or he mostly walking by?
Both. But when he'd do his rounds, he would walk at night while we were starting to sleep. He would check all the bedrooms, make sure everybody was asleep. And before he laid down with me, he would check all the windows and doors, make sure they were locked. And to answer my knowledge down there, I'm thinking Dogman lived longer than any 20 years. I'm going to say anywhere from 40 to 50 years.
They live.
And yes, Rascal did save anyone that was not a member of our family. This happened in 1998 during the spring. When this was some sort of trip or something that Amanda and her friends took, and little Sally and her best friend Mary was with her. This was close to the LBL, and I have no idea what they were doing. But the little girl little Mary got lost for 3 or 4 days. We and sheriff turned and asked us, he says, Robert, have you or Rascal ever saw a little girl out there in the woods? I said, no, what's wrong? They said, we got this little girl because I saw on the radio and everything, TV and everything, that she was missing. So I took off back across the field. Well, I went down there to cut some more wood, but we went by Highway 70 that was close to the LBL on our county side and stuff. So I pulled in this old logging road that was on our property. I went all the way back to the edge of it where the creek was. And I saw something moving under one of the trees that was sticking out of the creek. And I stopped and I looked. And lo and behold, it was a little blonde-haired girl. I said, "Oh my God, that's Mary." I stopped the truck immediately. I said, "Rascal, let's get out." We got out. We both got out. Rascal stopped me in front of the truck and he pushed me back. And he growled, and I looked up across the tree, and lo and behold, there was this 7-foot Bigfoot. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I jumped down in the creek where the little girl was, and that thing was trying to grab her. And Rascal grabbed its wrist and threw it back up against an old locust tree. And when he did that, that gave me time to grab the little girl, and we both got in a truck, and all we could do was lock it. While Rascal was fighting this thing, Rascal killed it because he rammed his metal razors through the thing's chest, and I don't know if it pulled. I think it pulled part of its lung and part of its heart out, and it killed it right then and there on the spot.
Wow. This question.
When I finally called the sheriff, told him we found little Mary. She's here at the house with us. Her mother came there. Amanda brought her mother up there. Little Mary ran to his mother and held her. What his mother did, her mother did. She came up to Rascal and she wrapped her. And she kissed him. And Rascal kissed her back. And she went home with her little girl. Because I can tell you right now, these Bigfoot are nothing to joke about, people. You got to be careful.
I can believe.
And to let B. Moss know, now he never got aggressive with anyone. He just let me know whether they were good or evil.
Could he tell if someone comes around? Could he tell if they were bad?
Yeah.
Like didn't want them around, period.
Yeah.
Somebody else wanted to know, since he was so big and weighed so much. Once he got bigger, I guess how much was he eating? I know
he didn't eat as much as people thought he would. It wasn't as bad because he ate a well-balanced portion of meat, cooked meat, and his favorite food, believe it or not, was beef, roasted potatoes, broccoli, and carrots, and onions. He loved them, and he and him loved corn too, and catfish. We could eat our weight in gold and all that.
Wow. When he swim, do he swim? Not do the Doug paddle, but can he swim?
It was partly kind of like us, but here's the thing: he could swim underwater. He could swim underwater, bank to bank.
Because I know their lung capacity is way more than ours. So.
Yeah, they are. They got huge lung capacity.
Might say they I heard an interview one time said, I don't know how to
And
Bigfoot.
to let them know, he ate with his hands.
That's what I said.
We try to get him to use a fork, and he tried his best. I'll say that.
I'm sure they do use their hands. Yeah, I'm sure they do use that. But did he ever since he was so used to y'all feeding him and stuff like that, did he ever go out and hunt for his own food and eat it?
Yeah, he would hunt for his own food, but he would bring it back for me to dress it out and cook it.
Oh, so he basically like to cook food better.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's what Amanda and Teresa both told me since they were veterinarian. They said he got better vitamins and proteins from the cooked meat rather than the raw meat. I said, why is that? They said, well, raw meat, you get that real high energy, but then it slows down like when you're diabetic and stuff and you get tired. He said, with cooked meat and everything, it's well balanced and everything else, and everything's a whole lot better. And to let everybody know, yes, Rascal could smell and sense the diabetes with me because I always carried an extra thing of insulin and all that. And Rascal actually gave me my insulin one time because I had my pen
Wow.
already prepped and the needle was already there and ready. He just popped that needle out and put it to my stomach and pressed it in because
Damn, that's
after
smart.
that, yeah, because one of these times I had a diabetic episode. We were up in a tree and I almost fell out and he grabs me. And I said, Rascal, I'm not feeling well. I'm getting dizzy. I need my medicine. He reaches in back of his pack where my insulin stuff was, and he pulled my shirt up and everything and popped me with it. And after 15 minutes, I was all right. I was
Wow.
sweating real bad, but man,
Somebody wanted to know, Joe Freeman wanted to know, how did he travel with you? Because he said, was it tough due to his size, how big he was?
when he traveled with me, a lot of times we would walk, but we would also, go in a truck. And he fit it pretty doggone well in the truck because it was expanded cab in that truck because it's one of those first 3-door Ford F-150s.
Hmm.
This one is a huge red one. What did Rascal get for his birthday and Christmas?
Hmm.
Oh, we got him a bunch of blankets. Boy, he loved them blankets. Me and him, we loved our blankets. Well, I'm going to answer B Moss. I can tell you how he knew to give me my insulin injection when I was when diabetics when they need their uh, medicine, what you really don't realize is our bodies start to sweat real bad.
And it's like they could smell it.
Yeah, and they could smell it. He knew what was wrong, and I told him I was dizzy. That's when he reached back there for it and popped me with it.
So he's saying you do this yourself many a times.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He'd seen, so he knew what to do. Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing though.
And to let this one know what I forgot what his name was. It wasn't tough for him to travel with me at all because of his size.
B want to know, how did your family and friends feel when they came over to visit and he was in there? Was they ever scared of him?
Oh heck no! They were never scared at all. She'd had several of the kids run up to him and hold his neck, hold him, and wrap their arms around him and hug him, and friends and relatives they reacted real good with Rascal.
Right. Because I know y'all couldn't let just anybody you know,
Yeah.
know about it because they'll go back and blab it off. And they got a Doug.
Well, see, the town I come from, everybody knows everybody, and they don't blab. You know how it is.
Um, he said, I mean, seeing him. Well, she wanted to know how did they react for seeing him the first time when they
Their
first saw him.
jaws, well, when he was a small pup, a sick pup, their jaws dropped. And they said, his front legs look weird. I said, those are not front legs. Look again. And their jaws just dropped. They said, what is this? This is not a normal dog slash canine. And my grandfather told them what it was. They said, oh, that's just in fairy tales and like werewolves or something. They said, nope, this is not a fairy tale.
Right.
And they said, what's the difference between a werewolf and a dog man? They said, dog man is naturally made by God. A werewolf is like your supernatural thing where a human person changes into a wolf and turns into a complete animal.
Right. Basically like
A lot like what happened to Nebuchadnezzar when he got so proud and started bragging on himself in front of Daniel. What did God do? Changed him into a beast, a burden. Number one, this is your first case of Bigfoot for a period. What was that? 7 months or 7 years, something like that. And then he asked God for forgiveness, and God turned Nebuchadnezzar back into a person again.
right. I don't know. I don't think B was here, but she wanted to know how big was Rascal again on 2 feet.
On 2 feet,
Yeah,
9.5 foot tall.
that's a big boy.
Yeah,
That's a big boy. So I know y'all
you
see
ain't kidding. See his footprint was 18 inches wide, long, and 6 inches wide, 6 to 12 inches wide.
that's big. That is really big. Man, that's massive.
And he was fast. He was. We're talking faster than lightning.
How fast do you think he ran? 40, 50?
On 2 feet, he runs 60 miles an hour. On 4 foot, he ran so fast I couldn't see him. I couldn't even see a blur. I could see the trail where he ran, and by the time I got to the stop sign, he was standing at the stop sign by Peter waiting on me.
Um, this is a good question. This comes from Johnny K. And he said, did he ever give you any kind of message from like mankind? Or did he say that Dugman would ever come out of hiding, meaning showing themselves more to people?
Yes, he said eventually they will, because Rascal told me his people were called Lyrica, which is I think is an ancient name for upright dog or something.
Mm-hmm.
He said, and they mostly live underground or in deep woods away from people.
Right.
It's not that they hate them, or it's not that they hate people or something, but they're leery and kind of afraid.
Right. Right. So yeah, I mean,
He says, but I've also found out about my grandfather, and this is what he said about Bigfoot. Bigfoot, since they were once fallen angels and or huge people like us, like and when they sinned against God, he scattered them on all four corners of the world and destroyed their cities like Lemura and Atlantis, destroyed them completely, destroyed their language and everything, and turned them into beasts of burden, what the Bigfoot are now.
mm-hmm.
This is why Bigfoot hates people, because I'm saying what happened during Noah's time
Mm-hmm.
when the flood came up.
And B just asked that question. She said, where do you think Dugman come from? Did Rascal ever say
Rascal told me they came from deep underground and mostly the deep woods, underground into deep woods.
Yeah, the CIA don't. Yeah, they care when you find out too much about them.
Yeah.
Government care when you find out too much about them. They definitely do that.
Oh
Um,
yeah, they'll definitely come after you.
oh yeah, no question. By him, you know, most people see Doug Man and see how they cut up so much, but you gotta think that these Doug Man, they do a lot of stuff. They lift, they climb, they
Yeah.
run, they swim.
Yep.
So they
Yeah.
use all parts of that. They using their upper body to build that upper strength up.
Yeah.
That's why they tone the way they are.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Rascal could climb a tree.
Oh yeah, he can climb it up. He in 3 minutes he can climb about 70 foot up a tree, all the way up tip top and come back down.
That's quick. B Moss would like to know where are they at when you don't see them?
I would say not too far away from you. Like if you're on a trail or something. And the thing with it is with people, I've heard some people say when they've heard their names whispered, and Rascal's done this to me several times when he's whispered my name, he'd be right up behind me. I knew exactly where he was.
Okay. Now the question B was asking, I had to go back up. She was like, where do you think they come from? Is it another planet, another galaxy? Was you told any type of information on that?
No, I was told that they come from. Have you ever heard of the second Earth? Earth within what they call a journey to the center of the Earth,
Yeah.
where this other world and stuff is supposed to be. That's where my grandfather says that's where they mostly go. That's where they mostly are because of Noah's flood.
Okay. He didn't have to put extended nails on them. They just made them for him.
Yeah, made them for him.
Umar said the inner earth. Yeah, earth within the earth. They got to have a
Yeah,
sundown.
yeah, like Bimo said, inner Earth.
Okay, wait a minute. She said I missed another question. Oh, dude, I got that. I got that one about the estimate. I got that one. What was the question, B? I don't.
Rascal, he kind of looked at the farm animals and stuff. It's not like he really interacted with them. They kind of looked at him and he looked at them, and it's like they went their way and he went his, and he interacted okay with some dogs. It's like that. So the other dogs are kind of afraid of him, but I'm saying that as natural.
Oh, okay. Somebody wanted to know why do they fear cameras? Are they scared of cameras or they just
No, they don't. I'm thinking they don't want to be found just yet. That's why they use infrasounds to block the cameras out and everything. That's why everything's so fuzzy. It's not that they fear them. It's like they're still kind of like hiding themselves and all that. I don't
okay?
think this is a fear factor.
Okay. Johnny Ross wanted to know. Rocco wanted to know. Did he understand simple commands like sit?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I got you. Hey, B, I scrolled up. What was the question? Can you post it again?
I'm trying to answer everybody's questions here. So,
Okay, somebody, Nathaniel wanted to know, do you think the flood filled the center of the earth and brung out all these creatures? I mean, I don't think it flooded.
that's to me a yes or no question. It really is. Some parts I'm going to say yes, other parts I'm going to say no.
Okay. Did somebody, Steve Riley, wanted to know, how did Rascal interact with farm animals or just plain dogs? I mean, I'm sure he still got, it's built in their DNA. They got to kill the hunt to eat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Did he attack?
But he never did bother any of the livestock or anything, or the dogs, because he acquainted them with us. So he never really, ever tried to harm any of them or anything.
Okay.
So he associated all of them with us. So he associated all of them kind of like his family too.
Oh, okay. Okay, Richard. Wait a minute. I missed some of his.
And yes, Rascal did like music.
Yeah, somebody did post that.
He liked me. I like classical music, soft classical music. Rascal like that too. I introduced him to rock and roll, which is some was okay and some not. He would turn that radio off if he didn't like it.
Richard wanted to know, since he was so big, how did he fit in the car? I'm sure he wasn't in the front seat. I'm sure he was in the bed of it.
Well, what it was, he would come through there when I opened up the doors. He would kind of stretch and slide in, so he wouldn't cramp himself up, and then he would position himself where he would tuck his tail under, and he would sit like us.
Okay.
My truck with
Oh,
the seat leaned all the way back.
I always wanted that they could sit just like us.
Yeah,
They
they can.
they can. Joey Smith wanted to know, was Roscoe a Dugman or a Bigfoot?
Rascal was a dog man, type 2.
Okay. Well, why do they call it? I mean, I know you say werewolves is the ones that transform into, human to werewolf. Why do they call these type 3 werewolf type? Because they got the short snout, Bigfoot body, and
Yeah, because they actually what they have is a baboon snout. They got this baboon face.
yeah, that's what they look more like them
Yeah,
than a
they do.
werewolf.
They look more like a doggone baboon with big ears than a werewolf. I think
And
they describe them a lot like a werewolf because of how vicious they are. That's the thing.
oh,
Me, there's nothing wrong with my camera. I'm just like deep in my seat here.
yeah, she just said have him adjust the camera. Yeah, that's what I think people see, because they do. Everybody saying they got to look like a baboon face and all that. Well, why y'all calling them werewolves then?
That's just, I'm thinking that's just people out of fear because they don't know what a dog man really is. So they're using they see this guy walking upright like us, and with a wolf's head or a German Shepherd's head, and they said, "Oh, that's like like an old fable tells. Oh, this is a werewolf," and blah blah blah. And it's
Then
not.
so what kind of what did he look more like? German Shepherd?
He was more like a wolf.
Okay. Somebody wanted to know, why do they enjoy tormenting people? Any scared?
Well, it's not that they're really tormented. They're trying to get them out of the woods because there could be a Bigfoot or some other cryptid close to them that they don't see or know.
Okay. All right.
And Rascal never asked about his mother. But on my dad's deathbed, he told me what happened to Rascal's mother. Him and his commanding officer were told, I guess, by the base commander, go to those underground tunnels, the base they were at, and process Rascal's mother, Rascal, and the other pups. Now, my father told me, and his best friend confirmed it, that Rascal's mother was very, very loving and gentle with her handlers when they had them processed. I said, process? He says, yes, killed. So, because I guess whatever it was that they were, their experiments or studies or whatever they done, they was done with them.
She got B got a good question. She want to know if you could describe to us Rascal appearance in details.
In detail, he looked exactly like the Van Helsing werewolf. With instead of the human legs, had the dog hog legs.
Okay. So
And yes, the Kalita down here, Shields. Yes, Rascal was family. And when he broke ranks to protect us.
right. B want to know, how long do Dugman generally live? What is their lifespan?
Their lifespan, but my father and grandfather told me, see their experiences, they're thinking about 40, 50 years.
B wanted to know what color was his eyes, how did his ears look?
Okay, the color of his eyes when he was very young were cobalt blue. When he got older, they changed over to a beautiful golden yellow. Now, badgers, when he was excited or angry, they would turn a blood amber red.
Oh, so they would change colors. Did he have
Yeah,
pointed ears, straight pointed ears?
yeah, yeah. Kind of like a wolf or a dog.
Okay, now was his body real muscular?
Yes, it was.
Triceps?
Like a at the front part, top part, and the shoulders mid down was like a football player, but down lower when it got down to his lower body, stomach and on down, that was real. It was like a marathon runner.
Okay. Now,
And yes, a dog man's eyes are luminescent. They are
yeah.
always.
So I do believe their eyes come in all colors. Green, blue,
And
black.
another cryptid I've kind of left out. This happened 1994. Now I had my cat Stormy with me. I was in bed and everything. Have you ever heard of the shadow people?
Yes.
Because they're in the same group as these damn black-eyed children and black-eyed people. What happened to me all day long, this was on a Wednesday. I got home from work. As soon as I got into the house, I started feeling dizzy, sick to my stomach. But I thought, well, man, I've been working too hard or something. So I went up, laid down on the bed, and it got dark. Rascal was doing his rounds, checking on everybody. For some strange reason, I could not move. It was like I was paralyzed, and I couldn't hardly speak. But my voice, I used my voice real loud and squeaked. But when I opened up my eyes and I looked up, there was this black shadow figure stretched out across my ceiling. Right. Stormy, my black cat, saw this thing. He started hissing and he even jumped at it and clawed. When Stormy clawed it, it looked like black blood splashed up against the wall. When Stormy let out this long howl, all of a sudden here comes Rascal. He was at the end of the house. He beat a trail through the kitchen to my bedroom to where I was. I had the door open, and he got on top of the bed. He started fighting whatever this thing was because it had white eyes. This shadow, I guess these shadow people, they can materialize. When it materialized, Rascal started biting and clawing this thing. When he clawed it, it more this black, filthy, stinking blood started, and Rascal was like raising hell with this thing. Dad and Grandpa and everybody came running to see what it was. They saw a Rascal hovering over me and fighting and clawing this thing. Stormy was jumping over Rascal and trying to claw this thing. My grandfather turned on the light, and this shadow creature person thing was running away from the light, and it headed and went out the window, and we didn't see it anymore. And what my grandfather did, he put Epsom salt and holy water all the way around the house in the yard. So my thought on these damn shadow people, they have got to be some sort of demon. They have to be.
Right.
Because you look at these doggone black-eyed children, they're definitely demons. So
My granddaughter see them shadow people now. She only 12. Now B want to ask this question again, and I'm gonna throw it out there again. She wanted to know, now you had, from the mid '80s to 2000. Do you have any pictures of Rascal? And do you think anybody in your family, friends, ever snuck and took a picture?
they wanted to, but they respected Dad and me and everybody else. And even I'm sad. I wish I had pictures of Rascal. I really do.
Yeah, I
Now
mean,
I've got a picture of his gravesite. I do have that.
right. But I would think, man, if we out in the woods somewhere and ain't nobody else around, I don't know. I might have snuck. I'm a sneak a picture in. You know what I mean, I might have been
Yeah,
scared.
I've even thought of that too. I really have, but I'm
And a lot of
thinking if that picture were to get out, boom, Dad and his best friend, hell, the whole family would be in trouble.
the whole family. Yeah, I mean, I think because that's something the government don't want nobody to see. Just as bad than you videoed it, walked through, and somebody else would have got hold of that video and posted it.
Yeah,
I can understand that, and you ain't the only person
yeah,
that did something about these pictures and videos, and that's why some people don't share
yeah,
and don't post them because the
yeah.
government.
Margarita asked, yeah, we had one neighbor kid use a dog whistle.
Do it work on them?
Nope, but it makes their ears hurt. They don't
Okay,
like it. And
Johnny.
yes, Rascal has seen a female dog man. That's where Lucy came up. Now I had 2 or 3 pictures of Rascal. Yes, they were destroyed in a fire. That's when they were. That's when he was a pup.
That's that's the holy grail though. That's what somebody waiting for.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one picture is what you can see the whole body in that video of him.
Mhm.
That's the holy grail picture. But
Yeah.
that picture,
Well, his gravesite to me is a holy grail.
you
And
gotta
when I do die, I am going to be buried beside him. I've already let the family know.
now that might have been good too though. Somebody asked that question. When he was on all fours, probably could have took a picture of him too. I think you can get
Yeah,
away with taking pictures of them when they small, when they pups.
yeah,
Because you would just look at them and be like, oh, look at that little cute dog, you know, but when they get
yeah,
big, it's out the question.
yeah.
Robert said, you see that question, Steve Riley said, Robert, this is a Kentucky question.
Yeah.
Do you all have L81? What's that?
In Western Kentucky. Uh, Al 81. What in the world is that?
What is it, Steve? Can you
That's what I was trying to find out from him.
it was big.
Yeah, he was big.
So out of all the
And
all
yes, Johnny said yes, he can show love. He really could.
yeah, they had some big ones back there. See, you right.
And the caller was not a sense of being controlled for Rascal. For him, that was like being part of the family.
Oh, Steve Riley said Winchester, Kentucky, soda pop.
Yeah. Oh, he drank. Oh, Rascal drank his fair share of soda pop too. His favorite soda was IBC root beer.
Wow.
No, he never terrorized his prey. He never did. He would choose his prey and nail it right then and there on the spot. He was real quick. He never terrorized anything. This is how thorough a hunter he was.
Wow. So
And yes, he could stand by Peter in the house. He did.
so you think that when it um that uses infrasound and cloak, you don't think that they would just absolutely vanish? It's just the
No,
they blend
they
in
they blended in with everything so well.
because they could just stand somewhere and you know they there, but you can't see them.
Right. Did the mailman ever see him? No, not really. She she knew he was around and she saw him on all fours, but she never saw him bipedal.
And I mean, by y'all had private property, I know just couldn't anybody drive up to y'all homestead. So we want to know why
Well,
do
she is one of the
we want to know why do pictures show up blurry? You think from these cameras?
because they use the infrasound to cover up the pictures. Johnny asked me, did he get when he got big? Did you fear? Did you feel any fear? No, I didn't. and neither did any of the family.
How big did he grow from when you had him as a pup?
He was growing pretty quick. I mean, he was growing pretty quick. He really was. By 4 months, he was 4 foot tall. When he got to be a year, he was between 7 and 8 foot. By the 4th and 5th year, he was full grown.
Wow,
9.5 foot tall.
that's a big. I'm looking at the ceiling. I know that's got to probably be about, I don't know, maybe about.
Your room be about what, 11 foot high?
It's big. Yeah. So I'm looking at him now. The smoke detector.
Well, see, I'm 5'10". How tall are you?
Only that.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, he would tower over us by about 4 foot.
Down at y'all.
He'd tower over both of us.
Somebody Joel Freeman wanted to know, was anybody ever scared or intimidated by Rascal, strangers? Of course not family.
Not really, no. It's not they were intimidated. They were more or less real curious as hell what type of dog he was. Of course, 90% of the time when he's with me, he'd be walking beside me on all fours, and then people were like, "That's a big dog." I said, "Yep."
One question I wanted to ask you: when they run, like when they run and they hit with their front forearms, do they extend their fingers, or do they kind of like hold them up?
Rascal would always extend his fingers because he kept his hands when he ran on bipedal. He kept his hands close to his kneecaps, kind of folded in.
Okay.
No, it wasn't a big cell phone. This was like those flip top cell phones when they first came out in the 90s. You know how expensive they were at the time.
Right.
Did Rascal busted? No, he never did. Oh yeah, he busted my recliner. I'm like, oh well, and I got another one, a bigger one.
Any more questions, y'all? Oh, this is what I wanted to ask you. Did he ever say that? Did he ever let you know how the government was catching these creatures, and what are they planning to do? Out of them?
As far as I knew, from what my father and his best friend told me, they would use some sort of tranquilizer, but they would go after the pups first rather than the adults. They never told me how the government found them, the wild ones and stuff, but they always told me what they did.
B want to know: do you think they can move through portals?
Move through portals?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and since they're that intelligent, I would say yes.
John want to know: how high do you think Rascal could jump?
The highest I saw him jump was 40 foot.
Mm. Okay. Did he ever? Somebody wanted to know who. What is it? Oh, Hop 9209 wanted to know, did he ever accidentally bite you? And if so, do you have scars? If you ever bit you or scratch you or something like that?
When we were playing, he might nip me a little bit, but then he would stop and he'd check me out and see if I was all right. He'd never break the skin.
Do you want to know, why can we sometimes see part of the body and not the rest?
I would say because of the infrasound.
Nathan Cannon, hold up. Let me find
And
this
it says,
question.
Johnny said, did he feel better than humans because of their gifts? No, he loved us because we were part of his family. And when he got to know us better, he even knew human nature better and all that.
I'm gonna go back up and ask this question that Nathan asked, because he did answer this earlier. He wanted to know, can he speak in English or any other language? I know you
Yes,
answered, but he wasn't.
yes, they did. Yes, they can. That's how intelligent they are. That's because of their double voice box.
Sir Money wanted to know, did Rascal turn doorknobs if he came in
Yes,
the
he
house?
can. Yes, he can. And let Johnny Cage know he slept with me.
Marquetta wanted to know, do Dugman have entity near them?
Uh, I do know dogmen have souls. And I can tell you this much, I don't think Bigfoot's got much of a soul. If it does, it's a very dark and very evil. Rascal accepted food to mouth, and sometimes he would use his claws to pluck a potato and eat it like that too. I mean,
Somebody wanted to know, Aurelio Cantu want to know, what's a Dugman to you?
to me, a dog man to me is an upright, walking, super intelligent canine. What I would consider as the ultimate form of canine.
And something that scientists don't want to discover.
No, actually, that's true, and it's because of the damn super soldier project that the damn government's got going on.
So
I'll tell you that much right now.
all they need is their DNA. They can clone millions of these things.
Yeah, they can. Here it is, and what my father and his best friend said, why they choose Dogman over Bigfoot, because Bigfoot hates people and they're always totally violent. He says, but Dogman are just totally the opposite. They have strength and power. They're smart. They'll connect with their handlers and stuff a whole lot better. And this is why my grandfather and my father said why these abandoned bases and stuff are guarded by some of these dog men, because that's how well, see, it's like this dog men. They said dog men are so intelligent they can actually be trained, like guard bases. And I kind of see that. Yeah, I kind of see that abandoned bases and stuff. I mean, why not? If you could use these dogmen to like guard your abandoned bases, wouldn't that free up more personnel to go somewhere else?
Okay, B got a question. It's a good question. She said do you believe a noose was a dove?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Hope 929 said Rascal fought, 3 side squatches or how many, and they wanted to know how many
His injuries wasn't all that bad because see he held the advantage with those metal razors with his claws. So
yeah,
those metal razors, they were more than just weapons. They gave him extra power. And when he used his strength of those razors, he was invincible.
okay. B want to know, do you believe that Dugman have attacked or killed people?
I'm gonna say it was more or less a hybrid dog man. That kills people. As for a real true dog man, I don't know. They may have in other areas, but in the case of the Beast of the LBL, which is probably the most famous one, was done by a hybrid because it had legs like a Bigfoot.
Somebody wanted to know. Marquetta wanted to ask, do Dugmen have any entity around them? Any kind of entity?
Not that I know of.
And
I mean, they may have in other areas.
somebody want go ahead. Go ahead and finish.
But like I say, other environments and other areas are different from the LBL. Each area in each state is different.
Right. Um, Somebody wanted to know, awake girlie wanted to know, do they trust humans or they just want to stay away from us?
Some do trust humans, but others don't. But that goes right along, including with the environment and all that.
Somebody wanted to know, Carnetta wanted to know, did Rascal watch TV? If so, what did he like to watch?
He would watch sports with me because I always enjoyed watching basketball. He would flop down right with me on the doggone couch, and we'd both stretch out and we'd both watch.
Okay, this is a good one. Kevin G wanted to know, do Dugmen have a particular smell?
Kind of like an earthy dog smell, but nothing real super strong. Because of these other cryptids, they'll smell horrible. They will smell like rotted blood. Oh
And
man,
I guess because he was raised in a home,
yeah,
he probably didn't eliminate that smell like he would do if he was living out in the woods.
yeah.
What did you say? I don't see what he said. Oh, she wanted to know, B wanted to know, what do you think killed them people in Cobb County, Tennessee?
Oh, on the Tennessee side of the LBL, I'll tell you what it did. That was where that one kid was a survivor. That was the Type 4 Bigfoot. That was not a dog man at all because that was done in 1989.
No, we ain't talking about that.
That's when I had Rascal.
We talking about the incident that happened when the guy got killed and the girl got attacked too, and her arms was ripped, both her arms was ripped and dangling. They was barely hanging on her, put it on her body. And she had so many on her that they lost count. So she want people asking, what do you think killed
That
those?
was, well, I've heard that one too. That was done by hybrid. That's what my father explained to me. I said, do hybrids have retractable claws like Dogman, like Rascal? He says, no, they don't. And this one guy, I know he got on one of the shows and said he he escaped a Dogman attack uh, when this Amish couple in Tennessee in the LBL when they were camping where they got attacked. Nope, there wouldn't be no survivors because again, this is how that was done by a Bigfoot, 3 Bigfoot that killed that family and just let them lay on the ground. Yes, the boy was under the trailer, and this is one thing about
Oh yeah, he came.
Bigfoot. This is one thing about Bigfoot.
He came
When he
along.
got the LBL, where you got the base of the LBL mixed up, which was in Kentucky, and the thing with in the Tennessee, where you got those 2 incidents mixed up. Beast of the LBL was done in 1984. This other incident was done in 1989 by Bigfoot. Now, he was able to escape there because after the Bigfoot got done with that family, they left. Now, this wouldn't have happened if it was a Dogman, because Dogman's sense of smell is way better than anyone else's. This is why they're such a thorough hunter. Once they rip through something and kill it, there are no survivors.
I heard about the guy. The boy was supposed to have been hiding under the trail. I mean, I guess he waited all this time to come forth. And, I mean, I always ask myself, I mean, did this cryptid, whatever killed them people, did not know he was under the trailer, or he didn't pick up on his scent, or
what it was, it didn't pick up on its scent. And see, most Bigfoot, when they hunt, and I've noticed this, they hunt line of sight. And I'm like, this is why they're opportunists. They hunt mostly by line of sight, and they use their infrasound. And the thing with Dogman, especially when I learned from Rascal, they use all their senses in hunting, and they take their time. They just don't charge in, use infrasound, and blam, here you go. No, they're a more refined hunter. That's what I loved about Rascal.
Okay.
And letting Johnny know why Dogmen are so furious. Well, look at the other cryptids that they go up against. Yeah, I would be furious too.
Right. And man.
And then I asked a good question. What about portals and Dogman and Sasquatch? Well, I've never seen Rascal use a portal, so I wouldn't know about portals, but I would say Dogmen like Rascal, since they're so intelligent, yeah, I think they could use a portal. And do Sasquatch use portals too? In a way, yes, I do. Yes. In a spiritual sense, yes, they can use the portals to get from one place to another.
I think it happened earlier this year. Well, it happened this year. What time? Oh, all right. Been on 2.5 hours. Robert, man, I want to thank you again for coming on, asking us, answering your questions, telling us, your experience and raising a Dugman pup, man. Told me some things I didn't know, and thanks for everybody in the chat for showing up. It was a great turnout. Y'all asked some good questions, and he gave y'all the best answer that he could give y'all.
I hope I got to answer all of them. I really do.
We got to answer all of them. know, if anybody else got any answers, you know what I mean, just leave them on the page. We get to them, but yeah, thanks again for for coming on, man. I know I've been asked you, and I know you're kind of busy, but I called you earlier today. It was last minute thing. I needed eyewitness and you came through, so I thank you a lot for doing that, though. Appreciate it. So everybody in the chat, I'm gonna shut it down now because we've been on 2.5 hours. And I see y'all on the next live, man. Thank everybody for showing up and showing out. See y'all on the next live.
Yep. See y'all later, man. Thanks a lot.